So maybe you've been noticing that we have been talking a lot about ES6 features and even newer additions to the language. And so let's continue with that now with yet another enhancement, which is enhanced object literals. And so let's take a closer look at our restaurant object here. So this restaurant object is an object literal. So you can see that because we basically wrote this object literally in our code using this curly braces syntax. So, well, you get the point. So all of this object here has been written using the object literal syntax. Now, ES6 introduced 3 ways which make it easier to write object literals like this. And so let's go through them one by one now. First off, let's say that we have an object that is outside of this object. So let's take this one and create a separate object with it. So const opening hours equal. And so now this is its separate variable. Now here we need a semicolon to fix this error there. But now we still want to have the opening hours object inside of the restaurant. So before ES6, we would have to write opening hours. So that's the property name that we want. And then set it equal to opening hours. And so then basically the restaurant object is restored. Let's see that here quickly. So you see that here we still have the opening hours just like before. Now, the problem here is, and it's not really a problem, but it can become annoying, is that this property name is exactly the same as the variable name from which we're getting this new object, right? And so with enhanced object literals, you don't need to write this. So we can just do this. Let me write this here, ES6 enhanced object literals. And so what this will do now is to take this opening hours object and put it into the restaurant object and create a property name with exactly that variable name. So as we will reload now, then you will see that it's still here just like before. And of course we could change this now, but then we would also have to change it here. Otherwise, JavaScript will not know what this variable is. And so now, as you can guess, we have a property called hours. All right, so that's a very handy enhancement. And so let's now check out the second one. So the second enhancement to object literals is about writing methods. So in ES6, we no longer have to create a property and then set it to a function expression like we have always been doing, right? So essentially, we create a property just like we do all the other properties, and then we set that to a function expression. But again, now we no longer need to do that. We can write it in an easier way, which is to get rid of this function, even of the semicolon, and then just like this. And so this now works exactly the same as before, but with a slightly easier syntax. And I actually personally really prefer this new syntax. So I'm going to change this entire object to the new way of writing methods. But this actually comes down to personal preference once again. So if you prefer the old way, you can just keep it like that. So maybe you think it's more explicit if you can actually read the function keyword there. But for me, it's enough that we have the parentheses here. So that alone already shows that it has to be a function. And VS Code itself is also helpful as it changes the color of the methods to green. So VS Code is really smart in that regard. And finally, the third enhancement is that we can now actually compute property names instead of having to write them out manually and literally. And compute just means like calculate. And so let's try that here. So let's say that we had an array with all the weekdays. weekdays. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And now we wanted to take these property names here out of that array. Okay, so instead of having to write them here manually. So we can do that by using, again, the square bracket syntax. And then in here, we can put any expression, basically. So this was Thursday, so let's say weekdays on position number 0, 1, 2, 3. And of course, we could use the structuring here, but yeah, this is just a demonstration anyways. So weekdays 4, and then here weekdays 5. But let me just show you that we could really do anything here. So we could also compute the name in some other way. Let's just say 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 4. So this doesn't make sense, but yeah, I just want to show you that we can do this. Let's take a look at the object now here, opening hours. And so you see that we still get Thursday and Friday, and then here we get day 6. So we computed this property name using a template literal and then also this expression in here. And this is sometimes extremely helpful to be able to do this. So before we could only compute the values. So here, for example, this could be 12 plus 12, right? But we could not compute these property names, but now we can do that as well.